Okay, just a warning about this one. It's probably going to be long and probably boring for a lot of people. But if you are interested in the process and the steps of reloading ammo, that's what I'm going to do. Another thing is all my reloading stuff is old school. They have electric almost everything now, but I only load my ammo for hunting guns. So I don't need to load thousands at a time because I buy bulk ammo, cheap stuff for like the ARs and the 9mm, stuff like that. So this is just my hand loads I do for hunting purposes. And so anyway, might be boring. You might not want to watch this one unless you're interested in the steps of how you load your own ammo. Okay, let's take an old fired round. This would be a 44. Primer shot, bullets out of it. Let's take this and turn it into this, step by step. Okay, first step, you have to have a book that will show you what you can do with the bullet and what the maximum and minimum are. Here's just three alignments. That one's a spear, that one's Hornady. And different cartridge makers have different books to let you know. We're going with the Hornady because we're actually going to use some Hornady ammo. Okay, so we've turned to the 44 Magnum rifle page. It shows you the dimensions and it shows you what primers to use, case and cartridge length, things like that. We are going with this round here, 225 FTX, which is right there, 225 FTX. If you notice, it says case trim length 1.255. That is different than all the other rounds because of the way it's designed and built. We have to trim it to that length. So we'll see if we have to do that. I'm not sure. But first step, we found the bullet we're going to load, and we have the bullets there. Okay, now we grab the 44 Magnum die set. There's 3 dies for pistols. I'll get into that later. Rifles are just 2 dies. So we take our dies and we're going to put them in the press. Okay, so we got the die screwed in, the top. Sticks out through the bottom. You can see a little pin on this one. Right there. So there we go. This one is the sizing die, which makes the shell the right shape that it needs to be. Each shell comes with its own shell base. It's a holder. So we'll be putting them in there. I'll show you the next step. Okay, we got the brass in there. We got the sizing. Put it. You just heard a little click. That would be, if you can see it, there it is, primer. We popped the old primer out. It's now in just that little container. Okay, so now this brass has been sized. It is the right size to fit a 44 Magnum. See the little hole through there? That's for the primer. We already popped the primer out. So while you're sizing it, you also knock the old primer out. Okay, I did 20 of them. And the reason I'm only doing 20 is these are going to be experimental loads. So each row of these are going to be loaded different. And I will see which one shoots the best out of my rifle. Now, like I said, it was supposed to be 1.255. Here's your caliper to measure. So put it in there. I measure it. And of course, it's 1.2, almost 7. Let me take another one. That one's the same, 1.2, just about 70. So we will trim these a little bit. If these are just regular two 40-grain bullets in it, it would be fine. They're not longer than what is suggested, but these are built different, so we got to trim them. Okay, I set it up without boring you too much I already adjusted it to what I need. So we lock the case down in there. This is a guide. Put the guide into the mouth. And these are cutters. Basically just spin it. Okay, bring it back out. Then after you do that, to get rid of any burrs, take a little tool here, smooth the inside, smooth the outside. Now let's measure it. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not, but now we're at the 1.25, just barely over the 5, but we're going to be good with that. Okay, well, we got everything, all the cases, they're all trimmed down to size. Next step will be primers, and it's calling for Magnum pistol primers. So we dump them on here. Just took 20 of them. Kind of shake them around, get them all to face in the same way. Just my hands in the way there, huh? Okay, so they're all facing up. Put our little lid on here. Okay, this is the priming tool. You can see all the little primers in there. Then they'll go into this tool. Open the gate, lets them in. Now we're going to prime the cases. Okay, take one of our brass that we've sized it, knocked the old primer out. We've cut it down to size. Now we're going to put a primer in it. Squeeze that thing in there. There. Now we have a primed case. So we'll do that for all 20 of them. Okay. Take our case. Next step for pistol cartridges, which this is going to be used in a rifle, but it is a pistol cartridge, is the expander. You only do this in pistols. Slide it in there, put it up into the die, bring it back down. Now you're not going to notice a whole lot of difference between the one I just did and another one, but you might be able to see the mouth on this one is a little bit wider. The reason that is, it wants to be able so you can just set that in there so it pushes in easy. If it's not widened, like this one isn't, it doesn't want to start in. And if it doesn't start in right, it can wrinkle the brass. So expander just basically makes the mouth a little wider so the bullet sits in it. Okay, next step is going to be powder. When you look at the book, that's what we're loading. It's the bottom number, Winchester 296. It'll show you what the low and what the high grains are. So we have our Winchester ball powder 296. We have some loaded in, I call it the dumper. But because we're doing experimental loads, each row of these will be a different grain. So I have my scale set up, and I'll show you then the next step. Oh, these are what we're loading. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different powder measures, and later on I'll shoot the rifle and see which one of those work the best. Okay, so I've set this up to get us close to our first number that we're going for, which would be 1905. That just drops a load in like that. Okay, well, dumping out of this got us to the 1904. Our first ones are going to be 19, actually it's 0.4, not 04. So we got 19.5, so this is powder trickler, and we just turn the knob a little bit till we get it to 19.5. So that's what our first loads are going to be. So now I'll load all 4 of those rounds with 19.5. Okay, so the first row is going to be 19.5. So basically just pour it out of your little pan. It's empty. I'll do that for those 4 across the bottom. Okay, we got these all loaded up. See the powder in them. And they follow this pattern. The bottom's at 19.5 and the top one's 21.1. And all of those are in the safe zone according to the book. Okay, next step. We're going to take the case that has the powder, slide it into the holder. There's a bullet we're going to put in it. It sits just in top like that. Put it up into our die. Bring it back down. So the bullet's set in there. Now we'll measure it to see if it's the right length. Okay, in the book it says the maximum cartridge length, meaning the whole thing, is 1.61, and we're at 1.602. So we got it seated in far enough. I'll do the rest of them and we'll go to the next step. Okay, that step's done. You can see we got them all in there. Like I said, we're staying in line with these numbers. So they're all where they're supposed to be. Now the next step is crimping, which I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. Maybe you can. There's a little, I can't really put, there's a little ring. You might be able to see it, might not. Not really. There's a little funny area looking ring that's not halfway down, and that's a crimp ring. And what we're going to do is squeeze the brass onto that crimp ring, which I wish I could see that better. And it actually helps hold the bullet in place while the gun is rocking back and forth. And it also holds the bullet just a tiny bit, in my opinion, to build up a little pressure before it lets it go. So now we're going to crimp them. Okay, now I adjusted my die, the piece on the top. I adjusted it so it would crimp it, but not push the bullet any farther down. So you basically put it in. There's pressure at the end there. Now it is crimped, and I'll see if I can show you what the difference is. Okay, we're going to show you the difference. Hopefully you can see it. The bullet on the right, this one, has been crimped, and that one has not. Can you see there's like a little gap between the bullet and the brass in that one, and then that one seems tighter. I don't know if you can tell that or not. Uncrimped, and that one's crimped, so it's holding on to the bullet tighter. All right, we are done. We made a bunch of experimental loads for the 44, and what we'll do is this bottom row was at 19.5, so you steal your wife's little Ziploc bags and you mark them with how many grains of powder are in them. So we'll put these all in the proper bags, and then we get good weather and I have time, we'll go out and shoot, see which has the best grouping. Well, If you made it this far, I'm impressed, because a lot of people would find that very boring, which is fine. I like doing it. Hard to find time to do it, but now when I take those out and fire them in, find a good whatever's the best, then maybe next year I'll get a deer with it. So anyway, if you're still here, still watching, thanks a lot. Catch you later.